Welcome back to Soundcheck from Visual Radio Arts. And on today's show, we've had a fantastic set from Mr. Richard Wileman on my right and Amy Fry on my left. Welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
And first error.
Well, you say the first.
Moving on.
Okay, I'm going to start off by asking you a few things, Richard, then I'll move across to you. So I'm not being rude.
That's okay.
Just having to deal with the binary nature of positions. Richard, so a lot of the songs that you played tonight, you said this is from my kind of album of such and such.
Yep.
So what I'm getting at is you've done quite a lot of recordings, going back over quite a reasonable length of time.
Yes.
But you more recently you've been working with Amy for quite a while, I think, haven't you?
I have, yes, since 2007, I think.
Yeah. So, question number one: is there a Richard Wileman and Amy Fry album?
No, because
after all that time.
Well, I was only ever gigging under my name, and a publican in Swindon felt it was unfair, so
so added me.
So
but I see. So you were there, but just not recognised.
Yes, it was the Amy Fry experience first.
Right.
It was Amy Fry.
I do lots of different kinds of music. There's lots of instrumental stuff. The songs may have lots of different arrangements. So Amy is involved in some of the stuff, but not all of the stuff. But when I go and play live, I kind of cherry pick the set.
Yeah.
And so she's got something to do on every track. So it's drawn.
So she's got something to do.
Yes.
Am
I saying things
the Amy
correctly?
Fry job creation scheme? No, I know what you mean. Yeah. So some of the songs can bring out. You can bring more stuff out of some of those songs with. The stuff that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot
Amy
of it
can
has
do.
been recorded with Amy in mind. I'm quite flexible with how the songs get rearranged and chopped up.
Yeah. Okay, so coming across to you, Amy. So. The task you seem to have picked up is that translation. So when you first sort of met and started working together, there were loads of songs already there that weren't necessarily...
they're all Richard's music. He composed it all.
Yeah, but they weren't necessarily Amy-fied. They needed the Amy input.
Maybe when I made mistakes in recordings, but they would have it. Rich already written it all, has it all in his mind. It's all written out in notation. So I'll go along and play what's written, and then there might be like a word or two that might have got wrong along the way. That's maybe stuck, but it is all Rich's music.
Right.
So I am purely performing it.
Right. So he writes it down in a way that you can, because you're obviously a trained, musical person. So and people would have seen that you would have had sort of music in front of you in the performance. Yeah. And you had sort of similar notes, but not quite as
mine were just the normal cheat sheets with chords and words. Yeah. So, but Amy has the proper stuff. My attempts at the proper stuff. I'm self-taught. And I sort of slowly write things out. I still do. Every good boy deserves favour when I'm writing it. But
You mentioned that there's an album that is planned for the new year.
Yep.
I've forgotten what you said it was called.
It's called The Forked Road.
Forked Road, right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there were some references to Zombies on the Ridgeway, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
So tell us about that album.
Well, a lot of the album is kind of, I wouldn't say folk horror, but it's got one foot in that camp where there's a kind of an ancient feel with combined with an unsettling feel. And I started coming up with just a little plot over 3 pieces of music. And I started working with a harpist, Chantel Smith, as well. And so it was one large pieces of music and 2 songs appeared. And so that was part. So it's a mini concept within the overall thing, but the whole album's got that old kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
Sort of spooky or what?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of I'm just very interested. I just like imagery that's rich, can be a little bit dark, esoteric, that kind of a thing. Yeah. So it permeates a lot of stuff. But I try not to, I hope, be it's not sword and sorcery or anything like that. I try and make it link with themes of that are relevant to me, and I hope relevant to today as well. Yeah.
I think whilst you were playing, I was sort of listening to your sort of guitar style.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's that totally unfair thing where I say, you remind me of, but a touch of the Steve Hackett in there.
Yeah.
I'd have thought.
Yeah.
And I do know that you recorded a version of Tiger Moth, is it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. But listening to what you were doing, the sort of the acoustic style, and then sometimes with the stuff sitting in the background, I guess it's sort of a pedal that's triggering sort of some of those sort of chord type moody things.
I think it's possibly just the reverb. I mean, I pick, as far as Steve Hackett was a kind of a teen idol of mine, and I listened to Genesis, a lot of his solo stuff. So, and when I was younger, I copied his lead playing. That was the stuff that I was interested in playing guitar. And my first band, I would kind of have that sort of proggy kind of style, other guitarists as well. Then I went into Karda Estra and just rehauled everything where, overhauled everything, and I became more interested in composing other instruments and things like that. And I did that for nearly 20 years. When I came back out of that and wanted to just play, I'd not done any singing, so not in this context, not with my own music. So I wanted to mainly make sure I could concentrate on the singing. So what I play live is kind of chordal, finger picking kind of stuff, no lead things. That the melody stuff, instrumental wise, I hand over to Amy. When I'm recording, I still do the electric and all that kind of stuff. And when I do the project with Chantal live as well, I improvise more with things like that. That's more effecty and more of that thing. But Steve Hackett was a big influence in the early days, certainly. Yeah. Very atmospheric player. So.
I love Spectral Mornings.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, Tiger Moth is obviously from there. Yeah.
It's one of my favourite albums. Yeah. I don't know. I seem to have an awful lot of favourite albums of all time, but it's on that list.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Now yourself, Amy, where did your kind of? I hate to say what are your influences, but it's that question. Who is it who's made you the wind player you are today?
Wow. I'm not sure. I started playing clarinet when I was 7, and then started classical music first of all, and then started playing the saxophone when I was about 13, 14. I had a brilliant clarinet saxophone teacher, Helen. She was absolutely amazing, and I want to be just as good as her. Yeah. So that was that. I mean, if I'm really honest, I used to go to the Workmen's Club on a Saturday night, and there was a band of blonde women with curly blonde hair playing the saxophone. I was like, I want to be one of those.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
So that was what. But from classical, I moved into jazz.
Yeah,
and I loved jazz. And I did all my jazz grades and things like that when I was young. And then when I went to uni and I studied mostly classical, but I did do some jazz composition. But when I came back to Swindon, I started to join kind of original bands, and I feel like I learned so much from that. Just having that chance to explore ideas and to improvise and to really work with other people. So I have, and the styles of music I like it so wide. I love all styles of music. There's not one style. So I'm influenced by everything I hear, everybody that I work with.
Do you think that certainly over the last sort of 20 years, that the width, it used to be that if you liked indie, you liked indie. If you liked classical, you liked classical, and you wouldn't like anything else. I think that those barriers have completely, well, not completely, but very much gone away.
Yeah.
People are liking reggae and folk in equal, and heavy metal, all in equal.
Definitely. I think I had this conversation at home when, for us, when we were younger, we used to go and look at our parents' collections of whether it's vinyl, whether it's got CDs. You'd look, look for your kind of parents, and you'd pick out things to listen to. And now you have so many options to go and find on the internet. You have all these at your fingertips to listen to. It's maybe just easier to listen to all these different styles, so you can get into a little bit of this and a little bit of that as well.
I mean, it used to be that I was slightly embarrassed. I quite liked the Carpenters, and I think one of the first singles I bought was David Cassidy, but I also liked Terry Riley, Neil Young, and stuff that is just so far diametrically opposite.
I had Kylie Minogue and
yeah.
Miles Davis.
Yeah. What a band that would be. Okay, so thinking back on this evening's sort of set, you didn't play anything from the most recent album, which is the one that I think you released a couple of months ago.
Yes, Heaven's Son with Kavus Torabi.
Yeah.
Yes, no, we didn't do that one. We have been playing that one live over the last year or so, but didn't make the set tonight. Maybe we'll play it another time.
But that album's, I don't know that album particularly well. I think I've heard it a couple of times, but could you talk about that album for a moment?
Sure, yeah.
Rather than me pretending that I know about your album.
That's for sure. Well, I've collaborated with Kavus quite a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago. We did a couple of, about 3 or 4 tracks that ended up on my Karda Estra album.
Yeah.
And in return, he asked me to go on his an album he curated called The Exquisite Corpse, where one musician did 4 minutes, and then the next musician had 30 seconds to hear what the previous person had done and added to it. So
and it was done blind aside from that 30 seconds.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So so he kindly invited me to be on that, and that was that really. And he's also he's got his label Believers Roast, which he describes as a boutique label, and he kindly lets me put things out on there. So, but since he became much busier, as I knew him, with bands like Gong and Utopia Strong, I kind of thought that was the end of the collaborations, and we just keep in touch in a sort of more vague way. But over lockdown, he got in touch saying, did I want to do another collaboration? So I sure, we'll do things, and we just pinged stuff backwards and forwards. In the end, we had about 6 or 7 tracks. There was new stuff, and with vocal things that he'd done as well. There's a lot of experimenting and chopping things up and things like that. And then he wanted to include some of the Karda Estra stuff as well on it. And I thought, well, rather than just cut it out and put it in, we did a bit of remixing and changing and stretching and just to make it so it was different, not recycled. And there, I thought we'd finished at that point. We had 6 or 7 tracks, and it was, ready to roll. And right at the last minute, he said, "I've just had this idea where I've merged things together, chopped things up again," and he had some found sounds as well and put those on. And so it'd just be 2 long tracks. And he wanted to know what I thought of it. And when I played it, it just seemed to have this very surreal, dreamlike quality that had been added to it with this final edit he did. And so it came out as 2 long tracks. I mean, we have edits as well. We've sent them to radio stations, chopped up. But to get the whole thing, it works as this dreamscape, really. And
have you performed it in its entirety?
No. We've just done the opening section, which we call Astral Magnetic Mind, which is the chorus. And Amy and Amy is on that album, but she's not on that part. But I worked out an acoustic version with Amy, doing a lot of Kavus's guitar bits.
Yeah, and then Kavus joined us at the
He did,
yes. We formed it together.
Yes, that's right, yeah. So we played it we played with him. We've played a couple of gigs with him, and he joined us to sing his vocal bits.
Right.
So that was fun. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so what's coming up next for Richard Wileman and Amy Fry?
Next is I'm recording a collaboration album with Matt Baber from a band called Sanguine Hum. This is the 2nd album that I've done with him, and he's a keyboardist and drummer, and he's written some sort of suites, piano suites, and he wanted some wind stuff on that. So our next thing is we book time in, and I'm going to arrange out some parts for Amy to be doing on that. So we'll be going back into hibernation. So there'll be no gigs until probably next March. Right. This is probably the last thing we do together. Amy gets super busy over Christmas anyway with her other gigs and teaching and all of this sort of stuff. So I just nab her.
She abandons you for, for the festive season.
But I do nab her for recording. So stuff is happening.
So with those things, then you will work out what you think the parts are. Sort of, I don't know, probably on your guitar or something. And then send Amy across the sort of the notes.
And generally, she comes round to mine to record, but there are a couple of times that she's got her own recording set up at home, and it was especially useful in lockdown because she recorded the vocals to the start at home. Yeah, several times I might.
A few takes.
I spent ages mixing one, and then she decided she didn't like it. So no, but it was better. She was.
What he doesn't tell you is how long it took him to remake loads and loads of his parts.
She was right, as usual. So
so that'll be something that'll be over the next sort of few months. Then
that's well. I'd like to tidy that album up by the sort of middle of next year, I would hope so. So we'll be doing that. But there's always things that I'm working on, and she'll be called, and we go on to new adventures.
Yeah, and you do other stuff that's got nothing to do with him as well.
Well, I play a bit of jazz, so I'll join some other musicians to play like on a Sunday afternoon, or dep for a big band, or
depping for big bands as well.
If I when I can, when I can, as well.
So in those situations, do you just get dumped with the sheet music and basically the directions to the gig?
Yes.
And you just got to cope.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it.
She is a very good improviser as well. Like the end of Pilot, that's her improvising. I just say a few notes, and she does. Yeah, she does come up with her own stuff.
Well, I think one of the features of your stuff together are the ends of the songs. You're sort of like chugging along, and you think, where are we going? Where are we going? Then suddenly it kind of goes. It just comes to an end on a sort of like, I don't know, a quick bit of sax or something. Or
is it the first rule of showbiz? Leave them wanting more.
Yeah, I suppose it's
hopefully
the rule. The first rule of mixing video and audio is: have they finished? Yes, they have. Oh, now we can clap.
I should maybe the next songs I write should have that definitive.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, thank you very much for doing a great show tonight. Really enjoyed it. And we'll be back with some more fantastic music sometime in the next few weeks. Thank you very much for watching and listening.